You've been lied to by internet gurus. You've been told you need years of experience, years of work, or even fame to build a successful content business. But what if I told you that none of this was true? In fact, it's actually holding back your progress in 2025. In this video, I'll show you the only way to truly build wealth with content in 2025. A method that is built on solving problems, building trust, and delivering value to a niche audience. And you don't need a big audience or years of experience to do it. This isn't about the hacks or the tricks or the funky sounds on TikTok. It's not about locking in for the next 5 years of your life. This is about building something real, something that is truly authentic, that speaks to you as a person and builds a lot of trust, credibility, and authority in the marketplace. It's about building a podcast as a tool for your business, and I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. Step one is going to be identifying a painful problem to solve. Most content businesses don't solve a painful problem for a specific user that is easy to find online. Most creators are broke, cannot pay their electricity bill, struggle from day to day, end to end, month to month, because they try to appeal to everyone. They create content that is broad. They create content that tries to talk into relationships and health and wealth. They are not known for anything. They are not the guy or girl in their niche. Instead, it is very broad, and as a result, no one sticks to the content. That's why their audience doesn't grow and their offers don't convert. That's the most important part here. The content they produce does not contribute positively to the revenue that they want to generate. And the reality is, you don't need a huge following. The size of your audience simply does not matter if you are solving the right problem for the right person. And I struggled with this a lot. When I started my podcast, I had a broad business podcast, and then I had a careers podcast. And as a result, I was making no money online. I couldn't figure this stuff out. It took me years, and I mean literally years, to find my niche. But after figuring that out and moving more into the online business space and getting feedback from people about how they wanted to launch and grow and monetize podcasts, I was slowly showing my own credibility and what I know about growing and building podcast businesses on the back end. And then it was only a matter of months until we started signing some very high ticket clients. These clients are still with us today. Imagine that. 3 years ago, the clients we started working with are still with us today. Many of these pay us 50, 60, 70, even 80K a year, and they've stuck around for many years. And the reality is, people don't care about how much followers you have. They care about, can you solve their specific problem? And that is the beauty of creating your own podcast, is that you show people at scale how you can solve their problem. So what is that one problem that you can truly solve? Write it down. What is that one area that keeps your prospects and listeners up at night? What is it that they are scared of? What is it that they cannot live without? And if you can solve that problem with content, that will create an entire ecosystem of products, services, offers, of how you can help your ideal customer. And you might be thinking, I don't want to sell to my audience. And you don't. We do not sell. We do not kick people through funnels. Instead, we create an insane amount of free value and build trust and reciprocity with our audience, because we truly are about it. We love what we produce as creator entrepreneurs. We want people to see how we can solve their problems for them. And that is how I've created over 250 podcasts, generating over 40 million views. And for our business, it's generated multiple 7 figures, because I genuinely love to produce the content. I love meeting amazing entrepreneurs in my niche, in subsection niches, guys that are crushing it in my actual category. I can sit down with them and share my own insights. This is not pushing, it's almost pulling people towards you. It is a very much more of a magnetic way to create an ecosystem to bring people into your world. This free value that you're generating is just goodwill. As Hormozi puts it, you're building that trust of goodwill. And that trust of goodwill allows people to want to inquire about you. We book up calls every single day from people who just want to learn more about how they can work with us, because we've just given them so much stuff that they can go and solve their own problem. And theoretically, people can watch this content and go and build a 6, 7, maybe even an 8-figure business with some of the guests that I've interviewed. And most people think it takes years to monetize a content business and podcast. Well, actually, none of that is true. It's about how much you can solve that painful problem in detail. People pay for access. If you have a mechanism to solve that problem, you can go and show it for them. I never intended to get into the content business space or even the podcast business space. What happened was guests would ask me, hey, how do you do that thing with the podcast? How do you do that thing with your content? How do you build that audience? How does your audience buy your stuff? And as a result, I was very slowly in the beginning, figuring out what it is people actually wanted to buy from me. What actually is that offer? Components that make me a category of one and a category of king because of the fact that I just do this over and over and over again. So think of where you are in your journey. What is that niche? What is that area that people come to you and they're constantly asking about feedback and advice and help? And how is it you can put that knowledge in their hands? That is the content business that you can monetize today. You don't need to wait. You don't need to build up all this trust for years. You don't need to be a slave to your audience. Instead, you can monetize right out the gate. And from the early days of my podcast, when I looked like a nerd, spoke like a nerd, probably still do today in many regards, people were asking me specific questions that I was able to go and help them with. And if you're an entrepreneur already, you already get this. You already understand the ideas of traffic and audience and growth. And if you're just getting started, this is also for you. So as you put in the reps, you become the go-to expert in your niche. And you don't need to be a true expert to be able to help someone. That is the irony of the whole entire situation. You just need to be a couple of steps ahead in your own journey. And as a result of being a couple of steps ahead, you can help people behind you. You don't need to help a $100 million CEO. You can help people who are just getting started. And that is the beauty of this scenario. So create a series of podcasts that solve a very specific problem. You will get feedback from the market. Every episode you release will be more data that comes inside to you. It will be feedback for you to be able to identify, you like this, you don't like this, your audience likes this, your audience hates this, your customers and prospects love this. And we can slowly start to build a content system around that core idea and core team, that why people want to work with you. And over time, this truly builds trust and credibility in the marketplace. There is a lot to be said for the consistency of your message, the consistency of your positioning, and the consistency of your branding showing up on people's screens. Even though I was often recording into the void, people would often say to me when I see them on the street or see friends that say, I see you everywhere. I open up Instagram and you're there. I open up YouTube and you're there. I check my emails and you're sending me emails. Because that consistency in message builds so much trust with people. It proves to people that you are going to be sticking around here for the long run. Most people are looking for a quick run and they're going to be out of the market in a few years. But by staying in the market with consistency, the repetition that you build with people builds that bank of trust. And it takes 7 hours of trust building for people to come into your world and actually buy your product. They cross the chasm and want to work with you after 7 clear hours of being consumed by all of your content. So this isn't about the quick wins. We're not here to hack the system. We're here to build wealth. We're here to build content businesses that will pay you literally forever and have an asymmetrical return on investment. When I started my podcast, no one knew who I was, and to this day, probably still a lot of people don't know who I am. But the reality is I released one episode every single week for almost 5 years and never, ever took a break for 5 years. There's one episode that comes out, if not 2, every single week. And that repetition builds a lot of trust and credibility with the people that I want to build trust and credibility with. It's not about selling. It's about becoming a category of one that people want to come and actually just be around your work. You'll become magnetic. And that's the difference with this. People want to be around people who are winning. And if you can show people that you're consistent and you're moving forward, that is the right person to bet on. But the question is, do you need to do this every single week? No, that's not the point. You don't have to do this every single week. The beauty of a podcast is that you don't need to show up every single day. Instead, you only need to record 1, maybe 2 podcasts over the course of a month. Initially, get comfortable with putting in consistent low reps. Just see how that is. Feel it out. When you are consistently putting out 1, 2 episodes a month, you may want to do 3 episodes a month, and then you may want to do 4. And I've scaled all the way up to 6, 7, and 8 podcasts a month. And sometimes I don't even need to. That's the funny thing. The more episodes you put out, the less return sometimes you can get. So there is a lot to be said by slowing down, shooting straight, having a clear goal, and just making sure that the episodes are refined, doing things that are natural to you. It's not inauthentic. It will come very naturally to you, and you can taper this up and taper this down depending on your schedule, depending on your business, and depending on your goals. And the last point, which most creators never figure out, and which is why they always stay broke, is creating an irresistible offer that makes you a category of one. Your content and offer should feel like two sides of the same coin. They are almost identical. That alignment between the content and the offer that you have, or the product or the service, should be almost identical. And the beauty of this is the fact that you're able to solve that problem for free, and then people will pay you for implementation. This is the one big unlock that could completely transform your business in 2025, and most people do not have it right. They have content over here that talks about something pointless, and they have a business over here, and there's no connective tissue. They need to work in harmony together, and that is how it becomes a natural method for you to sell more, increase your revenue, build a better client base, and actually eliminate your bad customers and clients from your business. This allows you to monetize quickly, and as your audience grows, you actually get paid. One of my first ever offers was just coaching and consulting people on a one-to-one basis with podcasting. I would hop on a Zoom call, find out what their problems are, I would solve them live, and I would just get paid for it. And at the beginning, it started out for free. My first 3 clients paid me $0, and after that, I was able to scale this up. $50 a session, $100 a session. And my first big client was £1,800 paid in full for 3 months. And at the time, I just hopped on a call, figured out their problems in their business, and I was getting paid to learn. That is the beauty of this. And it didn't have to wait 6 years. I had this very simple offer that helped people understand how to produce their show at the time. And it worked very, very well, especially in the beginning when all I was doing was getting paid to learn. When your content solves real problems, your audience is already primed to buy. They're just looking for the buy button. They're not trying to figure out what it is and how you can actually help them. And as we have grown our business, we actually changed the offer and enhanced it. We went more into a client relationship. We started to physically build podcasts for people, grow them. We started to do consulting and coaching in person. We started to put a very large emphasis on that. So we had this client services offer that was running, and we've got 10, 15, 30, 50, 100 clients. And then we were able to coach these people, which led to going from 6 figures a year to 7 figures a year. And from there, we had a ton of material on coaching people, which is what built our incubator, a dedicated program to help people grow, launch, and scale and monetize their actual podcast. So we had a combination of things. And now we're helping people build offers on the back of their podcast. Guys, it's literally crazy. All of the stuff that I've done for myself is exactly what we've done physically for people. And it just comes from me solving my own problems, and those problems are valuable to everyone. And the reality is, you're not that special. The problem that you have is the same problem that hundreds of thousands of people actually have. Your method on solving the problem comes from your podcast, your content, into very clear and succinct offers that people can buy like that. So here's what I want you to do to get started right now, and honestly to start building a content business that pays you all through 2025. Write out one clear problem your audience faces. From there, break it out into 2 or 3 different topics. Create 2 to 3 podcasts, whether they're solo podcasts or with an expert in your niche that solves that problem at scale. From there, look at the offer. What is it that you can help people with from this problem? Whether it's an info product, digital product, consulting, coaching, agency, whatever that may be, but it has to solve the problem. Once you solve the problem, have that integrated into your content. As you get feedback from the market, it will dictate what people love and what people hate and what you should double down on. It all starts with the content. That is ground zero. In 2025, the creators that actually make it are not going to be the ones that find the hacks or the tricks or do the funky sounds or do all the dances on TikTok. It's going to be the creators who build trust, credibility, and solve problems at scale. Your content journey and content business should start today. The podcast is your vessel to get there, and this is your mechanism to build a successful and profitable content business in 2025.